Hello crafters and welcome back. My name is Deepa from DeeZinesByD and today I have a very special Spellbinders celebration post to share with you. So today's video is all in honor of Spellbinders 20th birthday. Can you believe they're 20 years old? Holy moly, that's so long that they've been around. And for me, this is momentous. I have been purchasing Spellbinders since I started crafting, and it was one of the first die sets I purchased. And I just love the quality of their products, how everything coordinates. I love the subscriptions and all the card kits. And so today I have the birthday celebrations collections to share with you, which came out this month to celebrate their birthday. So there's actually a celebration bundle, which I'll go over in a second, but first of all, I wanted to show you all of the beautiful dies and plates. So here's the Stylized Happy Birthday die set. It comes with an actual detail die and a shadow die to spell out happy birthday. Then you have the Stitch Fringe cake. This has like a fringe cake, which you can also kind of sew the center there to create little stitches, and you can cut them smaller to kind of create a tiered cake. This is the party decor set, and it has these little strings that can be cut out and all of these little elements that can be attached to create party decor. Then we've got the birthday unboxing Glimmer set. Now this has a whole bunch of coordinating sentiments that you can use with all of these products. Here's the Stitch Fanfare cover die. Now I love this. This is a stitch cover die, and you can use them with stitching or without stitching. It's really up to you. Then you have the So Many Candles Glimmer plate. Now this is a huge plate, and it just basically for so now I'm going to share with you the Craft Your Birthday Celebrations Embellishment Bundle. Now this comes with a bunch of stuff that all coordinates and goes well together. You have these bisque embellishments. These are like little bits of confetti that you can basically just place on your cards for some added shine. Here's a paper pad which has all of these beautiful patterns on it. Now some of them actually have some foiling, which I absolutely love. And as I said, all of these patterns kind of work well together to create a cohesive card with a beautiful color scheme. And that's the paper pad. Now, they also have a bunch of ephemera that you can use, some puffy stickers. These beautiful rainbows work well with the papers. And then you also have these sticker pages, and all of these sentiments can be used on your cards. There's also numbers if you wanted to add a special birthday, which is maybe 16, 21, 5, 6, any of those. And then you also have these great letters, these foam letters, which are just stickers with beautiful glitter fronts. Now they come detached from the cardboard. What I like to do is take my little stapler and just attach them so that I don't lose anything. And that's that celebrations bundle that you can also purchase. So for my card today, I'll show you one. There's also some more that I'll be creating, and I'll have some of those little reels that I like to create that show you how I created each card on my Instagram account, which I'll be posting in the days to come. So don't forget to check that out at DeeZinesByD on Instagram. So for my background, I'm going to be using that Fanfare stitched background. And before I actually cut it out, I wanted to do some ink blending and create a nice colorful background for this card. So I'm using some Kitsch Flamingo, some saltwater taffy, and some tattered rose to do my ink blending here. And I'm just going to create a color gradient from darkest to lightest on this panel. And I've kind of marked my panel with the size of the actual cover die to make sure that I'm covering the right area with the right amount of color. So Spellbinders actually carry some of the oxide inks right now, so you can go ahead and check that out on the site. I will link what I'm using here in my blog description, which is linked in the description below. All of the products that I'm using will be linked there, and hopefully you'll shop through my links because I will receive a little bit of a commission, and that's at no extra cost to you, and it just basically helps me keep bringing you videos and sharing more inspiration with you. Now, before I actually put my plate down to cut this out, there is a frame. So if you wanted to kind of make your card a bit bigger, you could actually just cut this with the internal part, but I'm going to just cut the actual A2 size card. So I've kind of lined up that frame with the center die, and I've taped it together with some washi. Now I've attached it to that card panel and cut it out. And with these stitching dies, you are going to have to kind of go over all of those little holes to kind of poke them out. I noticed that most of them get cut out anyways. I kind of put it through my die cutting machine a few times, and there's only like a few that I have to cut out in the end, which saves some time. So for my threading, I'm showing you the DMC tapestry needles. You do need size 22. That's the most important because you need that size for the head of the needle to get in and out of those holes on your die cut. I'm going to be using some gold shiny thread here. This is some thin thread. It's not the DMC thread. It's just something that I have in my household. You could go ahead and purchase the metallic threads that Spellbinders have on their site if you're just kind of starting out and you kind of need a point of, jumping off. So these are made so that you basically go from the center hole out through the sides to create that kind of fan design, but I'm going to do my stitching a little differently. So I'm going to first of all come in on the right bottom side of that half circle, or of the fan, I'll call it the fan. And I'm just taping down the end there just to make sure that it's not going anywhere. And then I'm going to go over to the left side and put it through one above the bottom hole. Then I'll go down through that bottom hole and then come back over to the right side, one above the bottom hole on the right side, to create basically a cross. And then I'm just going to continue with this type of stitching all the way up that semicircle or half or fan. And this is how I like to do some alternative stitching. So there's a bunch of different holds. You've got a semicircle here. All you kind of have to do is look at the pattern and create a design in your head and then make your stitching match that design. Now, I'm one of those people who doesn't like to always do the norm. I kind of always want to do something unique and new. Now, actually, I wanted to show you here. I did stitch through the bottom, but I decided that didn't look so great. So I simply just stuck my needle back through the hole, making sure that it's not interfering with the thread. And it just comes out very nicely. So you can always go back through your stitching to kind of undo a stitch. And then I'm just going to continue with the stitching throughout the entire background. I think at first I had decided that I was just going to do maybe every other row, diagonal row, and then I looked at it and thought it kind of looks incomplete. So then I just stitched the entire background. So I'll show you some of my stitching in and out of the process here. I won't show you the entire process because this video would probably take forever. So as I was saying before, while you're watching the stitching, I'll just go over what I was going to say is that I like to be unique in the cards that I'm creating. So I find with these stitching dies, you really have a large or greater possibility of creating more unique cards because the stitching is really up to you. So even though this Fanfare die is made in such a way that you usually just make the fan and kind of go up and down to create those stitches, I decided to use the horizontal stitching, crisscross stitching, to create a different look. Now you could always, maybe if you've ever heard of those spirographs that they used to have when we were younger, you can see that the lines basically make different designs, and you can make your stitching make those different designs too. And I think that this die is the perfect opportunity to do that. So this is just one alternate way you can stitch this die, but I'm sure that you guys could all come up with some other ways as well. You have tons of holes there. Maybe you want to just do part of the fan. Maybe you want to do, just horizontal lines instead of doing the crisscross I did. Anything like that would give you a unique look and make your card more special. Now you can see that final look is really cool. So I decided that I'm going to use the colors from the paper pad. So there's blue and yellow here, and it tends to go with that pink. So I actually chose the colors of my oxide inks based on this ink pad because I knew that it would all coordinate. Now I've got my stitched fringe cake, and I've cut out already the bottom platter along with the centers or the actual flames of the candles. And now I'm going through the paper pad and picking the blue and the yellow pattern paper to cut out the fringe layer of the cake and also just that stitched layer of the cake. And on both of these layers you can actually do some more stitching in it. I have a lot of stitching in my background, so I thought I'd kind of ease up on the stitching for this portion of the card. Now I keep my Sizzix Sidekick on my table here, and I thought this would be an easier way to cut these because they are smaller dies, and my other die cutting machine is the Big Shot, and it's a little hard to show you on camera. So you can see this is the fringe bit, and I'm just kind of zhuzhing basically the edges there to make the fringe kind of stand up a little bit more and create some more dimension when I put it on my card. Cutting out just the stitch layer here, so this is more of a solid layer with just that stitch portion in the center, and I did cut out 2 of the blue fringe portions. So this is the cake you would create, but I wanted a tiered cake, so I'm going to alter my dies. as I mentioned before, the stitching creates unique looks. This is also another way to create unique looks, is to cut your die cuts. We're all crafters and we're all very imaginative, and we don't have to stick to the rule. So I don't have to stick to the die cuts. So what I did was I cut the second layer a little shorter than the bottom, and then the top layer a little shorter than the center to create the tiered cake. Now I'll put together the little candles. I cut out the front of the candles with that yellow paper that I used in the center. And this requires a bit of finicky work, but with that Barely Arts glue, it works out perfectly. The nozzle is just the right size to get the glue onto that thin little bottom portion of that flame and attach that candle front. So I just did that for the 3 candles, and you can see I've kind of pushed up the candle portion a little higher, closer to the flame, and you can see part of the candle sticking out at the bottom. That's not a big deal. You can always cut it out, and you can even change your candles to be shorter or longer. Now I'm turning to my birthday unboxing Glimmer greetings. So I need a sentiment. I've got the happy birthday, and then I think I chose something like let's celebrate or have a magical birthday. That's what I chose. And I'm going to basically just use some of this aura foil, which is perfect for this. I've got a lot of colors going on in my card, so I thought this would just pick up all the colors that I have going on. And I'll just foil those with my Spellbinders Glimmer machine. I just need one little strip here, and I'll actually cut the second strip in half to create a smaller strip for the sub-sentiment. Now, part of the reason why I chose that happy birthday sentiment is it actually has the coordinating die to cut that out with this set, and I always love when you have coordinating dies, especially with sentiments, because I think it just makes them stand out a little bit more on your card, especially one that's a little busy like the one I'm making today. So there are the beautiful foil sentiments. I'll just line up my dies and cut them out. And there's also a smaller, I guess it's a banner die that I can use for the smaller sub-sentiment. And all I have to do is basically do some partial die cutting to tailor that banner to the size that I want. So always keep this in mind, because Spellbinders usually gives you a banner die with these Glimmer sets, and they can also be used with other sets as well. There are some sets that don't always have the banner, or maybe you want a bigger banner. You can take a banner die from another set. You can always mix and match and make your products work for you. And I love saying that in all of my videos, because sometimes we forget we can do that, and we kind of stick with what we've got kind of like in our one set. Always look beyond your sets. And this just also helps you get more money and more worth out of your products. So now that I've got the sentiments cut, I'm going to work on my background. I have this glitter cardstock. Now, I would have used the Spellbinders glitter cardstock, but I'm kind of running out. Have to reorder, and basically I get the glitter cardstocks from the card kits from Spellbinders. So I do recommend purchasing the card kits that come around during Christmas time. They always have specialty cardstock, including glitter cardstocks, which come in handy for other projects. So I use some foam squares to prop up that stitched background, and now I will attach this entire background to the card base. Now this card base is just a little bigger than an A2 size card base. I think it's about 5 3/4 by 4 1/2. And I like to create my own envelopes, so that's really not a big deal for me. You could just make yours the right size and it'll fit in an A2 size envelope. So I'm going to prop up all of these little tiered cake pieces with foam strips and squares. Now the foam that I use is actually a little trick that I picked up along the way, where I just use some craft foam and attach some Elizabeth Craft double-sided adhesive in the wide version on either side of my foam, and then I cut it into strips. Sometimes I cut it into squares, and that's what I use to do a lot of my dimensional adhering. So you can see every time I put on that fringe bit, I'm kind of lifting up the fringe to create more of that 3D dimensional fringe effect. And now I will attach all of the candles in the same manner, and I'll have them just kind of sticking out of the top and the 2 left and right ones kind of angling out. Now, as I did this, I did kind of use the sentiment at the top as a bit of a guide, because I do want it to fit. As I said, these candles are a little bit long, so you can cut them down, which is what I've done, and kind of just tuck them under a bit further underneath the cake. Now for the sentiment, again, I'll pop that up with some more foam tape just to kind of make it, I find when you have a busy background, by standing the main focal point bits of your card up with foam, it just makes them stand out a little bit more. And once I've got that main sentiment at the top, then all I really have left to do is to add the little sub sentiment. So I'm adding some foam on either side because I'm going to put this on top of the actual stand for the cake stand. So I've left a bit of space in the center in order to do this without it kind of bulging outwards. So I've got that on there nicely. And then I lied. There is one more step, which is embellishments. So I said that I wasn't actually going to do the stitching on the cake. Keep in mind, you can do that if you wanted, but I decided that I had a lot of stitching in the background. So for this, I decided I would use my little gems here. Now, Spellbinders does have their gem sets that they have released over the past year, and I love them so much, I do use them sparingly. So for pieces like this, where there's lots of little holes where I'm putting these gems in, and I want them a little smaller, I tend to go for my nail art gems, which I buy off of Amazon, which are they work just as well, they look just as nice, and I like I said, sometimes when you buy your craft supplies, you become a craft hoarder, and there's certain products that you use a lot more readily than others, and I really can't part with those gems too easily. So here is my final card for today. It's a beautiful stitched background with alternate stitching. Now, I did forget to mention that on the edges of that stitched background, there are half circles. So I just used the normal stitching for that, which was the basically starburst type stitching or star stitching is what I like to call it. So these are the 3 cards that I created for this release. I will be showing, as I said, reels for the 2 other cards on my Instagram account and also here on my YouTube account. So go ahead and give me a like if you like my videos, subscribe to my channel to see more, and hit the notification bell to be notified of those future videos I'll be posting. So I hope you all had a great day. I hope you liked my video today, and I hope that you are ready to celebrate with Spellbinders for the rest of the month. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.